was one of the most standout titles on the Dreamcast about a news reporter who used the power of dance to try and fend off an alien invasion. So obviously each of her normal attacks would be designed to resemble her dance moves, and she could even have a little ray gun style energy projectile that would be good for a neutral special. Maybe we could even make her big final smash a big dance number that forces all the other characters to start boogieing down before she blasts them away. BD Joe. Alright, I know putting one of the taxi drivers from Crazy Taxi in here might feel a bit odd. I mean, what exactly is he supposed to do? They never get outside of the car. Are they going to fight inside the car? That seems a little unfair, but hey, if anyone can make it work, it's Sakurai, and honestly, we need to find a way to make it work, because when the Dreamcast came out, Crazy Taxi was a beast. Everyone was playing this thing. It was insanely addictive and a wonderful salute to Sega's long history as an arcade developer. So let's put BD Joe, arguably the most well-known of the drivers, into the game, and maybe he could bring out his car for each of his specials. Maybe for his final smash in the later installments, he could toss someone into the backseat of the taxi and then drive them around like a madman, bumping and slapping them around with every single rough twist and turn, because if you played Crazy Taxi, you know, no way did the customers not get whiplash from the way you had to drive them around in this thing. Beat. Speaking of games on the Dreamcast that perfectly captured that early 2000s rave style, Jet Set Radio was iconic for Sega at the time, with super fun spray painting and rail grinding gameplay and an incredible art style. So let's bring Beat, the star of the game, into Smash and give him some high speed and maneuverability with his rollerblades, and for his specials, he could bring out his spray can and tag the opponent. So we're making him like an early version of the Inklings from Smash Ultimate. Ryo Hazuki. I know that over the years the Shenmue franchise has sort of been all over the place, but you have to remember, we're building this game in 2001, and back then, Shenmue was a jaw-dropping breakthrough for video games. I remember everyone raving about how this was revolutionizing the video game industry because of how real the world felt and how cinematic it was. And even if it's arguable how well the game holds up now, they did go on to influence many other big games, including a future Sega franchise. So yeah, let's put Ryo Hazuki in here, and since the combat of his game was based on the Virtua Fighter system, let's have him play a little bit like Akira. Also, when we eventually do introduce Final Smashes, I'm very tempted to say have him just hop on his forklift and ride around smacking into enemies. I don't know if that's too stupid or if it's perfect. Vice. I'm picking Vice from Skies of Arcadia for two reasons. One is because his game was actually one of the most critically acclaimed games in the entire history of the Dreamcast. This RPG about soaring through the skies as an air pirate, building up your own crew, finding lost landmarks, and traveling the world was one of the most imaginative games on the console, and it created a die-hard audience. And the other reason I'm picking Vice is because I am that die-hard audience. Yeah, I can't hide it. I love Skies of Arcadia. That is a top 5 game for me. Hell, the entire reason we're making this video today may just be so that I had an excuse to talk about how good it was. And then to get sad over the fact that all physical copies of it go for hundreds of dollars and Sega will never re-release it. Anywho, yes, let's put Vice in here and let him slash with his swords for his basic attacks, and then for his big final smash, he would call upon his ship to appear and fire the moon can at the enemies. Also, if you want a really deep Easter egg cut in one of the later installments of this game, you could have one of his alternate skins be the imposter Vice that you ran into in Skies of Arcadia Legends. Alright, that's enough of the Dreamcast stars, so let's bring in a few more Sega classics. ToeJam and Earl. Some of you might have expected these two funky fresh aliens to be in the first game, and for good reasons. They were big breakout mascots for Sega back in the Genesis days, so it would make sense for them to be in the earlier game. But the Saturn probably wouldn't have had the power to make dual characters. But in Super Smash Bros. Melee, they introduced the Ice Climbers, meaning this would be the perfect time to bring these two fighters on as a team. Now, unlike the Ice Climbers, the body types of ToeJam and Earl are very different, so even though these characters would fight together, maybe we could give them a move where you change what character is considered to be the one in control. If the skinny ToeJam
What if Cruella de Vil was just, what's the word? Not misunderstood.
Zero build. Custom key is kick.
is in control, then you'd be faster and you could jump higher, but you wouldn't be that strong. And if Earl was in control, then you'd be slower and heavier, but you would hit much harder. This idea might be a little bit too out there for the Dreamcast, but in later installments of Smash, they did introduce some characters who could shift their stats around, so maybe we could work it in around then. And I know somebody out there might be about to bring up the whole Zelda Sheik thing that I mentioned earlier, and you might be about to point out how ToeJam and Earl would make a perfect counter for that, because you could just have these two swap out in the middle of every single match, then in a later game you have them be completely different fighters. But here's the thing, Zelda and Sheik have completely different moves that have been established within the games themselves. ToeJam and Earl, there isn't really enough about these two characters that completely distinguish them from one another when it comes to the gameplay of their own games, so we wouldn't really have that good of an excuse to make the two of them completely different fighters. I think making them one team that works together makes a lot more sense. Earl Nadja. Earl Nadja was the protagonist of a series of dungeon-crawling RPGs that came out in the early 90s, and none of that matters because all that's important is that after those games, she went on to become the original protagonist of the Puyo Puyo series, and the Puyo Puyo games are kind of a big deal. She would keep some of her RPG powers, such as a weapon and spells, and she could even have her little friend Carbuncle come out and do some attacks. But as I said, she was the protagonist of the Puyo Puyo games, so we would of course have to give her some kind of a special that revolves around that. For example, maybe she could summon out some of the little puzzle blocks that you use in that game, and you can make them a projectile that falls down from the sky, or you could even make them a platform that she could jump off of in case she falls off of the stage. Bowie. And the final regular new fighter for Sega Smash Melee, Bowie from Shining Force 2. Now, okay, I'll admit, like Phantasy Star, I know nothing about the Shining series. But I do know it is big for Sega. It has over a dozen different installments over the years. It even had its own fighting game tie-in at one point in time. It's got that fan base that keeps showing up to support it. So of course we have to include a character from that series in here as well. And Melee feels like the installment to introduce them, since that's when Sakurai started introducing Fire Emblem characters into the Nintendo Smash games, and I feel like Shining is a good Sega analogy for Fire Emblem. But who to pick? Well, I checked around on some forums, and it looks like most people tend to agree that Shining Force 2 is the most popular installment in the series, and I even asked my followers on Twitter which was the best Shining game, just to make sure that I got their opinions on as well, and yeah, they backed it up. Everyone seemed to agree Shining Force 2 is the best game. So we'll throw in Bowie, the protagonist of that installment. So that leaves us with 4 Echo Fighters, and thankfully, since they would all have the same movesets as pre-existing characters, it means they'll be way easier to cover. Gum from Jet Set Radio would be an Echo Fighter for Beat. She was basically the second biggest face of that series, and everyone in that game skates around and spray paints, just with slightly adjusted stats, which is basically what an Echo Fighter is, so she would be an easy grab. Then Pudding from Space Channel 5 would be the Echo Fighter for Ulala, since the two of them were rivals and the gameplay remained the same between the two of them. Riala would be the Echo Fighter for Knights, because it would be good to get some more villains in here, and again, gameplay between the two of them was basically the same. And lastly, since Sonic Adventure 2 came out right before this game, we would have to take advantage of that synergy and put Shadow in as an Echo Fighter for Sonic. Now, I know some people would argue Shadow wouldn't be an Echo for Sonic since he has different powers, but the differences between Shadow and Sonic didn't start popping up until later games. At this point in Shadow's history, they still basically controlled exactly the same, and remember how in Melee, Ganondorf was an Echo Fighter for Captain Falcon? But then as the games went on, Ganondorf kept getting new moves and animations to make him his own character? Yeah, same thing here. Shadow would be our Ganondorf, that character that starts off as an Echo Fighter, but over the course of every single game, they would slowly change to reflect how they are within their main series. We might skip trying to interpret this game into Smash, though. That one, I feel like we can leave that one out of the equation. And that is your roster for Sega Smash Melee. A little more complicated than the starting game, but still not too bad. But let's see what happens when we jump ahead by 7 years to... But let's see what happens when we jump ahead by 7 years to... Sega Smash Brawl. Super Smash Bros. Brawl came out in 2008, which was well after Sega decided to leave the hardware industry, meaning that for our new installment, Sega Smash Brawl, we'll have to imagine that that game is now existing on another console. More than likely the Wii, since Sega was taking many of their titles over to Nintendo at this time. Now, Super Smash Bros. Brawl added another 14 characters to the roster, and again, there are a handful of characters that could arguably be considered Echo Fighters, even if the game doesn't count them as such. We got Wolf and Toon Link in the game, and again, this is one of those situations where their movesets are similar but changed just enough that some people might consider them Echo Fighters and some people might not. So again, let's compromise and say instead of 2 Echo Fighters or no Echo Fighters, let's count them as 1 Echo Fighter. And speaking of compromises, this is one that many of you have probably been thinking about this entire time. What are we going to do about Pokemon Master? Yeah, this was one of the big ones I had to figure out. Pokemon Master fights with 3 different Pokemon, each of which have their own different movesets. Because of this, some people consider this one character to be 3 characters. Well again, I'm all for compromising. If some people think you should count as 1 character and some people think you should count as 3, I'm going to count them as 2. Which actually works pretty well, because in the game after this, Pokemon Master was removed due to hardware limitations, and instead, they made one of his Pokemon Charizard his own fighter with a slightly different moveset. So in this game, I'm going to count Pokemon Master as one new character. Then when we talk about the next game, I'm going to count Charizard as another new character. I am making this way more complicated than I have to, so before my head explodes like that guy from Scanners, let's go ahead and jump into the 14 new characters. Amy. Listen, this one is a no-brainer. You know that just like Mario, Sonic would end up having the highest number of fighters in this game, so let's go ahead and add another one in here. We got Sonic, we got Tails, we got Knuckles, we got Shadow, and we even got Eggman in there. The next logical choice is Amy, and since she uses that giant mallet of hers, she would have a very different moveset from all the other characters. Simple, easy, moving on. Blaze Fielding. We need to include another Streets of Rage character. The franchise was way too big for Sega back on the Genesis for us to only have one representative. Problem is, yeah, the franchise kinda just stuck to the Genesis. But with the previous two games we were talking about, we wanted to stick to characters who were important to the Saturn and to the Dreamcast, since those were the consoles that we were on at the moment. But now, yeah, Sega doesn't have any more consoles. Which means that now would be the perfect time to start promoting some of the older games. And considering that we would probably be on the Wii, a system that introduced the Virtual Console, which had many older Sega Genesis games on there, it just makes even more sense. So let's include another Streets of Rage character, and Blaze Fielding is the clear winner. She was definitely the second biggest face of that franchise. Jackie Bryant. Speaking of doubling up on franchises with only one representative so far, Virtua Fighter definitely needs more fighters in here. This series was the face of Sega fighting games. If you're making a big Sega crossover fighter, you need more than just Akira. And I feel like Jackie Bryant has been the biggest, or at least the most popular, rival for Akira in the series. He's got this really explosive personality and fashion sense that really complements his Jeet Kune Do Bruce Lee style of fighting, which would make him a character that, despite not having any big flashy superpowers, would still stand out and feel like something energetic enough to go toe-to-toe. With Sonic and all the other crazy characters in this game. Amigo! Amigo got so close to being put into the last game. Since his game Samba de Amigo was another one of the big early titles for the Dreamcast, it just felt right to put him in there. But we already had Ulala and Pudding, so adding another dance rhythm themed character in there just felt like a little too much. But as I said, this game would more than likely be coming out on the Wii, and considering that Samba de Amigo got a re-release on the Wii, that makes this the perfect time to bring him aboard. And I think he'd be a super fun fighter. Have him attack by smacking his maracas around, and for his big final smash, let's turn the entire stage into one of his big musical numbers. You could have some of the other characters from his game come dancing in across the stage to bump into the enemies, or you could have some big button prompts appear up on the stage, just like in a rhythm game, and if you hit the button at the right time, then you would do some extra damage to the opponents. and Mimi. Hey, Amigo from Samba de Amigo is great and all, but you know what's better than putting one monkey in your game? Putting two monkeys in your game. What's better than two monkeys? Three monkeys! Yeah, let's put Ai in here and then include Mimi as a palette swap with half his skins being dedicated to his flower-adorned girlfriend. You could give him some moves kind of like what Pac-Man eventually got. Like, imagine if his forward B caused a trail of bananas to appear and then he runs across the stage collecting them. And And then for his up B, it could be a reference to the little flying minigame where his ball turns into wings and he starts soaring into the air. Ayeka. Alright, I mentioned that we needed to put Vice into the last game because Skies of Arcadia was one of the most critically acclaimed games in the entire Dreamcast library. But sadly, it did not sell very well, so it wouldn't make any sense to include another character from there. But, you know what? We're talking about over 60 characters today, so one of these has to be in here just for me, and gosh darn it, I love Ayeka. She is one of my favorite RPG characters of all time. She's got a fun, upbeat personality. She carries around a giant boomerang. I think her design is really cool. She gets to go out on her own adventures without Vice at times. She is great. Damn, do I love Skies of Arcadia. Why can't I buy it on anything anymore? Sega, get on that. But beyond just my personal obsession with this game, there is actually a reason why we should include her. Because Sega did want to support this game, and they did try to give it another chance to build up an audience. So after the Dreamcast died, they did release an updated version of the game with brand new content, and they put it on the GameCube. Because that's where you want to put your game to make it sell. Crap. But the GameCube wasn't Nintendo console, and we did say that this new Sega Smash would probably be on the Wii, so there is actually a valid reason to include her. Amity. And speaking of Sega properties that came to the GameCube after the death of the Dreamcast, yes, as I said earlier, Puyo Puyo is a big deal. You might not think it's big enough to warrant having a second character in here, but prepare to have your minds blown. Are you ready for this? Get ready for this. Puyo Puyo is Sega's third highest selling franchise. Yeah, this game where you link blobs together sells higher than almost anything else I've talked about today. You know when there's a franchise out there that you're aware of it, you know that it exists, but you think it's kind of a small niche thing, then you find out like an entire country is dedicated to it? Yeah, that's Puyo Puyo. And on the GameCube, they put out Puyo Fever, which introduced Amity, who would be the brand new protagonist of this franchise. So yeah, let's include her. Now, unlike Arl, Amity did not originally come from an RPG. She has only existed within this puzzle game. So her basic attacks could be the animations that flash up on screen when you do well, but when it comes to her specials, they would revolve entirely around placing little blocks of googly-eyed blobs onto the field. They could act as shields to block attacks, you could pick them up and throw them at the opponent, you could make them appear above the enemy so that they fall down above them. There's a lot of different ways that we could interpret the playstyle of Puyo Puyo into a fighting game. That's not a phrase I was ever expecting to say in my life, but here we are. Billy Hatcher. Speaking of Sega properties that came to the GameCube after the death of the Dreamcast again, Billy Hatcher. This little guy is way up there on that list of Sega characters that people like. Hatcher. Properties that came to the GameCube after the death of the Dreamcast again, Billy Hatcher. This little guy is way up there on that list of Sega characters that people like, despite not having been in a whole lot of games. I think people just hear the concept of a kid in a chicken hat pushing a giant egg around, and it makes them happy. They're just glad to know it exists. Let him roll his egg around for his side B or bounce around on it for his up B, and he's another one of those characters that has a female counterpart that would make for a great palette swap. So yeah, let's make half of his skins dedicated to Rolly Roll. Real talk, I forgot her name was Rolly Roll until I was writing this script, and that's actually cracking me up right now. That name is perfect platformer corniness. Tiras Flare. Our next character is the final non-Echo character to double dip from an old franchise, although it might as well be a new franchise? Okay, yeah, let's address this. I totally believe that Golden Axe should have another character in here. That game used to be big, it was very important to Sega in its earlier days of development, so I was thinking of putting Death Adder, the big villain of the game, in here, but then I looked at when Sega Smash Brawl would have been released, 2008. And in 2008, for the PS3 and Xbox 360, Sega tried to take Golden Axe and reboot it in the dark and gritty tone that was the style at the time. they created Golden Axe Beast Rider, which saw the character Terrace go from one of the 3 selectable heroes to now being the sole protagonist of the game, and it was bad. People hated this game. However, Sakurai wouldn't have known that people were going to hate this game while he was designing Sega Smash Brawl. He would just know, hey, Golden Axe is important to Sega. We should probably put another character in here. Oh, what's that? The same year that this game is coming out, you're also going to be putting out a brand new Golden Axe, and now the character Tiras is going to be the sole protagonist of it? Great! I'll take what I know about her moves from the old games and put her in here, and then we can just use her design from the upcoming game to get some good synergy going. I can totally picture that being how this would all go down, and even if Beast Rider was a huge flop for the company, we could just take her back to her classic look in the next Sega Smash game, and then proceed to pretend like Beast Rider didn't happen. Joe Musashi. Shinobi was another one of those classic Sega series from back in the Genesis days, making Joe Musashi an early icon for the company. I remember back in the day, Shinobi and Ninja Gaiden were duking it out to see who was the best ninja. Then Strider came along and there was no contest, but before Strider, Joe Musashi was way up there. So, now that we don't have to worry so much about including brand new characters, we can finally bring in some of the older characters like Joe Musashi. Give him a bunch of your standard ninja moves like kunai tosses on his neutral B, a smoke bomb counter. Listen, we saw how well Sakurai interpreted Greninja into Smash 4. We know he can make a ninja work in this game. Also, I should probably go ahead and address this. I'm sure that some people out there are going to argue that instead of using Joe Musashi, we should be using Hotsuma from the Shinobi reboot in here. But remember, we're probably going to have this game on the Wii, and no way could the Wii handle 4 different players all rocking that big, crazy, long scarf of hair on screen at the same time. So for now, we're just going to stick with Joe.
We're meeting G over there.
G. It is long past time that we include a character from the House of the Dead games. I already mentioned how Sega's been a good chunk of their life focusing on arcade games, and House of the Dead was the arcade game. To this day, Sega is still pumping out House of the Dead games that will never see a console release because they are made just for the arcade. And G is one of the only recurring characters in the House of the Dead games. Even when they reboot the series and create brand new cast of characters, G remains front and center for House of the Dead. In fact, speaking of reboots, that's exactly what they did on the Wii with House of the Dead Overkill. Granted, that didn't come out until 2009, so there is no way that we would be able to include that version of G in this game, but it does again back up my point that this fictional Smash game would probably still have come out on the Wii. Sega was basically living on Nintendo's couch during this entire decade. He would have a basic gunfire attack for his neutral B, but he could also summon out zombies to roam around the stage and attack the opponent, kind of like Frank West or Jill Valentine in the Marvel games. And for his final Smash, have the screen go to a first-person point of view, and now zombie versions of your opponents start crawling towards you, and you have to shoot them down. The idea of that super is so good, I have to include G just for that alone. I mean, just imagine you get G's final Smash, and then the next thing you know is zombified Sonic the Hedgehog is crawling towards you, and you have to blast him away. I know somebody out there has to think that's a cool idea. Don't lie, I've been on the internet. I know that's something. And then all we seen going to West or Jill Valentine will be on Nintendo's Smash game of G and come out exactly what they sent to the series, and one of the only recurring characters in the House of the Dead games. Even when they reboot the series. new cast of characters, G remains front and center for House of the Dead. In fact, speaking of reboots, that's exactly what they did on the Wii with House of the Dead Overkill. Granted, that didn't come out until 2009, so there is no way that we would be able to include that version of G in this game, but it does again back up my point that this fictional Smash game would probably still have come out on the Wii. Sega was basically living on Nintendo's couch during this entire decade. He would have a basic gunfire attack for his neutral B, but he could also summon out zombies to roam around the stage and attack the opponent, kind of like Frank West or Jill Valentine in the Marvel games. And for his final Smash, have the screen go into a first-person point of view, and now zombie versions of your opponents start crawling towards you, and you have to shoot them down. The idea that Super is so good, I have to include G just for that alone. I mean, just imagine you get G's final Smash, and then the next thing you know is zombified Sonic the Hedgehog is crawling towards you, and you have to blast him away. I know somebody out there has to think that's a cool idea. Don't lie, I've been on the internet. I know that's somebody's fan fiction. The Magician. We can't just put in here one House of the Dead character, and out of the entire franchise, one of the few recurring villains has been the Magician. This superpowered abomination has popped up as a major late-game threat in multiple games. When I went back and looked at some boss fights against him, stage and attack, his Echo character to double dip from an old franchise, although it might as well be an old franchise. Okay, yeah, let's address this. I totally believe that Golden Axe should have another character in here. That game used to be big, it was very important to Sega in its earlier days of development, so I was thinking of putting Death Adder, the big villain of the game, in here, but then I looked at when Sega Smash Brawl would have been released, 2008. And in 2008, for the PS3 and Xbox 360, Sega tried to take Golden Axe and reboot it in the dark and gritty tone that was the style at the time. They created Golden Axe Beast Rider, which saw the character Terrace go from one of the 3 selectable heroes to now being the sole protagonist of the game, and it was bad. People hated this game. However, Sakurai wouldn't have known that people were going to hate this game while he was designing.
I highly doubt she's gonna stay that long. I can almost guarantee.
Hey, Golden Axe is important to Sega.
I can almost guarantee it's not gonna be worth shit.
Oh, what's that? The same year that this game is coming out, you're also going to be putting out a brand new Golden Axe, and now the character Tiras is going to be the sole protagonist of it? Great! I'll take what I know about her moves from the old games and put her in here, and then we can just use her design from the upcoming game to get some
So you're probably not even gonna fucking try and watch
it
it.
all go down, and even if Beast Rider was a huge flop for the company, we could just take her back to her classic look in the next Sega Smash game, and then proceed to pretend like Beast Rider didn't happen. Joe Musashi. Shinobi was another one of those classic Sega series from back in the Genesis days, making Joe Musashi an early icon for the company. I remember back in the day, Shinobi and Ninja Gaiden were
Oh, fucking god, I do not want to get a fucking job. Shit pissing me.
Strider came along and there was no contest, but before Strider, Joe Musashi was way up there. So, now that we don't have to worry so much about including brand new characters, we can finally bring in some of the older characters like Joe Musashi. Give him a bunch of your standard ninja moves like kunai tosses on his neutral B, a smoke bomb counter. Listen, we saw how well Sakurai interpreted Greninja into Smash 4. We know he can make a ninja work in this game. Also, I should probably go ahead and address this. I'm sure that some people out there are going to argue that instead of using Joe Musashi, we should be using Hosuma from the Shinobi reboot in here. But remember, we're probably going to have this game on the Wii, and no way could the Wii handle 4 different players all rocking that big, crazy, long scarf of his on screen at the same time. So for now, we're just going to stick with Joe.
We're meeting G over there.
G. It is long past time that we include a character from the House of the Dead game. I already mentioned how Sega spent a good chunk of their life focusing on arcade games, and House of the Dead was the arcade game. To this day, Sega is still pumping out House of the Dead games that will never see a console release because they are made just for the arcade. And G is one of the only recurring characters in the House of the Dead games. Even when they reboot the series and create brand new cast of characters, G remains front and
Shit,
center
that
for
is
House
not
of
it.
the Dead. In fact, speaking of reboots,
I look like
that's
an
exactly what
unfollowable
they did
character,
on
bro.
the Wii with House of the Dead Overkill. Granted, that didn't come out till 2009, so
That shit
there is
pissing
no
me
way
off.
that we would be able to include that version of G in this game, but it does again back up my point that this fictional Smash game would probably still have come out on the Wii. Sega was basically living on Nintendo's couch during this entire decade. He would have a basic gunfire attack for his neutral B, but he could also summon out zombies to roam around the stage and attack the opponent, kind of like Frank West or Jill Valentine in the Marvel games. And for his final smash, have the screen go into a first-person point of view, and now zombie versions of your opponents start crawling towards you, and you have to shoot them down. The idea that Super is so good, I have to include G.
Bro, how do you deadass get people to act that fucking weird about shit?
Smash, and then the next thing you know is zombified Sonic the
be pissing
Hedgehog is
me
crawling
off.
towards you, and you have to blast him away. I know somebody out there has to think that's a cool idea. Don't lie, I've been on the internet. I know that's somebody's fan fiction. The Magician. We can't just put in here one house that through that version of G in this game, but it does again back up my point that this fictional Smash game would probably still have come out on the Wii. Sega was basically living on Nintendo's couch during this entire decade. He would have a basic gunfire attack for his neutral B, but he could also summon out zombies to roam around the stage and attack the opponent, kind of like Frank West or Jill Valentine in the Marvel games. And for his final smash, have the screen go into a first-person point of view, and now zombie versions of your opponents start crawling towards you, and you have to shoot them down. The idea that Super is so good, I have to include G just for that alone. I mean, just imagine you get G's final smash, and then the next thing you know is zombified Sonic the Hedgehog is crawling towards you, and you have to blast him away. I know somebody out there has to think that's a cool idea. Don't lie, I've been on the internet. I know that's somebody's fan fiction. The Magician. We can't just put in here one House of the Dead character, and out of the entire franchise, one of the few recurring villains has been the Magician. This superpowered abomination has popped up as a major late-game threat in multiple games. When I went back and looked at some boss fights against him, I was delighted to find that he actually had enough moves that we could turn him into a playable character. He's got claw slashes for your regular attacks. He also has a variety of blasts that he can send at the opponent. And for his final smash, make it the opposite of G's final smash. Instead of you going into first person and fighting the opponents, now the opponent goes into first person and is just treated to a barrage of attacks from the Magician being sent right at the screen. Kazuma Kiryu. The Yakuza franchise has ended up becoming one of Sega's biggest series, with later games building up huge audiences and incredible critical scores. So of course we have to include the Dragon of Dojima himself, Kazuma Kiryu. And let me just go ahead and address this right now. I'm sure someone is about to bring up the fact that we might not be
Fucking
able to
this shit
put him
is
here
stupid.
because the Yakuza creator said that he didn't want to put him in a fighting game because fighting games typically have female characters in there, and Kiryu would never hurt a woman. But he said this around like 2018, 2019. This game would have been made back in 2008, back when Kiryu's character wasn't nearly as defined. I mean, at this point, there were only 2 Yakuza games out. Kiryu's long story had barely even begun. But also, Yakuza wasn't the powerhouse series back then that it is today. So odds are, if Masahiro Sakurai had come to him back then and said, hey, could we play this game? He would probably have been far more willing to say yes, because this would have been a big deal for his young series at the time. Also, as for how Kiryu would fight, they gives down B a stance shift that causes him to cycle between his different fighting styles, each of which shifts around his strengths and stats. Kind of like what Shulk can do in Smash 4. And that is it. Those are all the main characters for Sega Smash Brawl. But we do still have the one Echo Fighter to include. And I'm going to go with Orta from Panzer Dragoon Orta, which came out on the Xbox in 2002. She would of course be an Echo Fighter for Edge from the first game. And I'd include her because I feel like Panzer Dragoon is another one of those franchises that is important to the history of Sega. So we should probably include at least one more character from there. And Panzer Dragoon Orta was the final game in the series to be released until the remake in 2020. So that is it. Another Sega Smash in the books. And I should go ahead and remind everyone right now, we are not covering guest characters in this game. This was the first Smash game to include guest characters with Sonic and Snake, but as I said, I am not going to be coming up with a guest character to put in here for every single guest character that was in the original cast, because a lot of that all depends on the people that Sakurai developed connections with, and we have no idea what connections he could have made in this alternate universe that we're dreaming up today. But I will say, if this game was made for the Wii, you know Mario would probably get in here. In fact, you know what? We've already got one guest character out of the way, so screw it. If I had to pick who the other guest character in this game would be, and I had to go with someone who we could probably actually have gotten, I would go with Nightmare from Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur was one of the biggest hits for the Dreamcast. You think of the Dreamcast, you think of Soul Calibur. And Bandai Namco does already help out with the production of the Smash Bros. Games in this reality, so they would probably help out with the development of the Smash games in this alternate reality that we're coming up with. So they would more than likely be on board with including a guest character. So yeah, let's throw the big bay of the Soul Calibur series Nightmare in here. We could always use some more villains in this game, especially because, remember, this would be Sega Smash Brawl. Meaning, this would be the game to include the story mode, Subspace Emissary. So every character that you're seeing on screen right now, yeah, imagine them in some huge crossover story mode. I would love that. Picture all the heroes have to travel to the center of this big, crazy, evil nexus to fight Taboo, the big villain of Subspace Emissary, and they fly there on Vice's ship. Imagine a scene where Sonic gets kidnapped, so Tails has to go looking for help, but he runs into a bad neighborhood and some thugs start moving in on him, only for Kiryu to pop in and save the little fox dude. But then our two heroes from Streets of Rage come in and they think that Kiryu's the actual bad guy, and now the two of them have to fight. You don't even have to do anything that complicated. You can just have Ryo and Akira squaring off with each other. Billy Hatcher picks up Ai like he's a giant egg and starts rolling him around into all the bad guys. Amigo and Ulala do a big, massive musical number. And of course, we would bring in boss fights, big monsters and bad guys from Sega's history for our heroes to fight. We could put in here the big chaos fight from Sonic Adventure, and you would have to fight the big liquid dragon monster as Edge and Orta ride around on the backs of your Dragoons. This is about as good of a Sega crossover as you could possibly have hoped for. At least for 2008. But now that we're done with Brawl, that means that we are more than halfway through with these games. So that means that the hard part is out of the way, right? That means that from here on out, we can just pick some Sega classics and we're good to go. Oh, I assure you, things are going to get even weirder, because in the next decade, Sega decided to include some rather new, interesting faces to their lineup of characters. And you'll find out exactly what I mean when we get into... Sega Smash 4. We have now reached the year 2014. We're getting so close to the present. It's on the horizon. You can see the modern day approaching. But for now, the Sega Smash franchise is going to release its fourth installment, which would just be called Sega Smash 4. Yeah, remember when Smash decided to just start numbering itself at the fourth installment? That was weird. Anyway, including 2 Echo Fires, and if we count Charizard as a new roster spot, then Super Smash Bros. 4 add 14 new Nintendo characters, but it also add a ton of new guest characters, which again, we are not going to worry about. However, this was also the first game to introduce DLC, and I am treating DLC with the same rules as the rest of the roster. Meaning, if it was a guest character, then I'm skipping it. But there was one Nintendo DLC. Corrin. A character who was revealed before their game even came out in the West, so half the world didn't even know who they were when they were officially announced. But they were a Nintendo character, so they do count, which means that including that one DLC spot, our total roster for this game will be 15. Except for one other thing. There was one
oh my god, what the fuck is it?
Of Super Smash Bros. 4 that we need to address.
Keep forgetting the mic is even on and shit.
Oh yes, the Mii Fighters, the biggest X Factor I have customize them, they were important to the franchise, so we do have to think of a way to include them. Except that Sega does own the Mii's, and again, it would be simple for me to just say, well, this will probably be on the Wii U, so we can just copy and paste the Mii's from Nintendo and put them in here for that game. But again, that's just an assumption. It doesn't mean it would actually happen. Heck, even if it was on the Wii U, maybe Sega would later bring it to the Xbox or to Steam, who knows? And the Mii Fighters wouldn't be able to follow there. So yeah, we do have to address the Mii Fighters, and it needs to be something that Sega themselves owns. So, let's start there. We would need something from Sega's history that would allow you to create customizable characters in the form of a brawler, a sword fighter, and a gunner. Now, I'm sure someone is raising their hand and shouting out, Sonic OC creator! But no, we're not going to do that. Instead, I've got a way better, far less memeable idea for this. Phantasy Star Fighters. Yes, we already put one Phantasy Star character into the first Sega Smash, but after a certain point, they kind of stopped making the regular Phantasy Star games and focused entirely on Phantasy Star Online, this huge MMO where you can create characters to go out there on missions. It started back on the Dreamcast, and even if the Dreamcast internet wasn't all that good, it did kick off a new phenomenon for Sega, and to this day, the Phantasy Star Online games continue to bring in a strong fan base. And guess what? You get to create your own characters in there, and you can create a sword fighter, a brawler, and a gunner. So let's take those basic creative characters, put them in here, and let you fully customize them and even sell some DLC costumes to dress them up to break everyone's hearts when they realize that their favorite character won't be making it into this game. We could keep the gunner's name the same, but we would have to end up changing sword fighter and brawler to hunter and fighter, but hey, that's totally fine. So congrats Phantasy Star Online fans, you get to bring your personal creative character into this game to fight Sonic.
Man, that's cool.
Now that we got the weirdest thing about this game's roster,
Bro, I hate that my sniffles are louder than
actual
like,
characters,
my
starting
voice.
with the easiest addition.
This shit pissing me. I think the rule that he added is dumb. Can't even hear it. I think the rule that he added is dumb. Can't even hear it. And geez, my voice is not even funny. This shit annoying. Like how loud I gotta sit up around like I'm gonna talk just to make my voice clear. This is how I'm talking normally. This is a normal volume. Like I'm gonna sit up around like I gotta yell at the top of my lungs. The whole everybody in the fucking house can hear me. Shit pissed me off so fucking much. But what's up, Stace? I'm just watching this video and I'm gonna like try and make some beats. I'm just trying to make sure all the bots acting weird. That's I'm just trying to make sure my mic is working and all that stuff, like it's loud enough. Like even though like the way my voice works is just kind of weird, but my bad about the bot stuff. I tried to set it up, but not even working. I didn't even mean to set that bot up for this chat, but like I saw your message even though the bot blocked it. But, try banning the bot, so I don't think it's gonna happen anymore. I don't remember asking it did not show all caps.
that your PS4 downstairs too? Turn your blanket back on.
I'ma just play the video.
By 2014, 2 Bayonetta games had come out, and she was a massive success for the company. People loved this character. And you know what? She even made it into the actual Smash Bros. As the second Sega guest character, so I don't even need to talk about how she'd fight. We already got that laid out right there in front of us. Great, perfect, moving on. Actually, you know what? No, not moving on, because as long as we're talking about Bayonetta, let's also talk about... Jack Kamen. Remember Mad World? No? What about Anarchy Reigns? Also no? Well, I know some of you remember them, darn it! Yeah, Mad World was one of the few games to come out for the Wii that was designed to say, you know, the Wii doesn't necessarily have to be for families, right? Nothing is keeping us from making super brutal graphic M-rated games on here. It was a super stylish and crazy fun experience. And nobody played it because it was on the Wii. And you would have to be insane to make a brutal graphic M-rated game on there. The Wii was for families. So, Platinum tried to bring the game's protagonist Jack Kamen back for Anarchy Reigns, a game on the Xbox 360 and PS3. Consoles that were more suited for his style of game, and they even shoved Bayonetta in there as a playable character to help bring in audiences. And somehow even fewer people played it, so I wasn't planning on including Jack in here. But then to try and get an idea of what other people might want to see in a big Sega crossover fighting game, I looked around the internet for what other people were putting in their own hypothetical Sega crossover fighting game rosters, and everywhere I looked, people were including Jack Kamen on there. So, screw it. His fan base might be small, but they're dedicated, darn it.
Oh yeah, my Twitch chat got like this built-in Pokemon game. Where it was like, it'll just randomly say a Pokemon appear and you can type in something to catch it. Hey, if you still here, you still hear it. You still hearing what I'm saying? I don't know how loud it is compared to everything else. But hearing what I'm saying? I don't know how loud it is compared to everything else. But
And again, Sega Smash 4 would...
alright. I guess it's good enough.
more than likely be coming out on the Wii U. Mad World was a Wii exclusive. The stars are kind of aligning on this one. And hey, everyone wanted Doom Guy for the actual Smash Bros, but there was no way Nintendo was going to include someone in that game whose powers include ripping and or...
I naturally just sound dead inside, to be honest. I can't like sit up here and put on like an entertaining voice. I just seriously can't. But this is just my normal voice, so it's not even fun.
Welcome Gunther. Sega Smash Brawl would have come out in 2008, meaning any games made earlier that year probably couldn't have been included, which stinks because in April of that year Valkyria Chronicles was released, and since that initial release, it's gone on to be a continuous hit for Sega, both financially and especially critically. According to Metacritic, Valkyria Chronicles is the best reviewed franchise in Sega's history. I know reviews aren't everything, but when you're the best, it sure is something. Valkyria Chronicles is a tactical RPG where you command troops of soldiers to run around the field and attack to try and take over a map. Also, Vice and Ayaka from Skies of Arcadia are in it, and yes, I did buy the first game just for that reason alone. So, since Welkin is the protagonist of the first game, he's our pick. He's the commander of these soldiers, so how about we make him something of a summon fighter? He can call out various soldiers from the game to either charge across the field for his side B, or for his down B, he could command someone to come in and huddle down in place, waiting until another character jumps into their line of sight to fire at them. And for his final smash, it's kind of obvious. He commands a tank, and we all saw what Fox, Falco, and Wolf's final smashes used to be. There you go. Sylvaria Bless. As I said, Valkyria Chronicles came out in 2008, but didn't stop at one installment. No, by the time Sega Smash 4 would have come around in 2014, the game would have had 3 mainline installments. So I'd say it more than deserves a second character, so let's go with Sylvaria Bless, who was the antagonist of the first and third game, and was actually playable in the second. Heck, she's even got the star power to already appear in other Sega crossover games, as she was a playable character in Dengeki Bunko Fighting Climax, a game that I'm really just bringing up right now because I really enjoy saying Dengeki Bunko Fighting Climax. I can't explain why, just every time I say that game's title, I get a big smile on my face. And even though she also comes from Valkyria Chronicles, she would fight completely differently from Welkin. She wouldn't summon in other characters to fight for her. No, she carries around a giant lance as her primary weapon, and she has superpowers that would give her a wide range of abilities. Yu Narukami. Between the last Sega Smash and this game, Sega started to build up its library through the Microsoft method of buying up other studios. Yes, in 2013, Sega bought Atlus, and at this point in time, Atlus was still milking the hell out of Persona 4, and for good reason. It was the most successful thing Atlus had ever done. So
what the fuck?
Protagonist, Yu Narukami, and lucky for us, we saw what happened when Joker was put into Smash Ultimate, so we already have a template that a Persona user would work in this game, and Persona 4 already had its own fighting game, so we could even pull some Narukami's moves from there and put them in this game. I mean, yeah, Narukami might not have a grappling hook for his up B like Joker does to help him get back onto the stage, but he does have a killer SRK, so I think he'll survive just fine. The Persona 3 protagonist. As I said, Persona 4 was the biggest Smash hit Atlus ever had, so it feels like a smart idea to include another Persona character in here. And while I would love to put Chie in the roster, I already used up my one free I'm putting them in here just for me card on Ayaka. So instead, let's do the smart and responsible thing and include a representative from Persona 3. We'll go with the Persona 3 protagonist Makoto Yuki. Or Minato Arisato, depending on which name you want to go with. God, I hate nameless protagonists. They make building these hypothetical rosters so much more difficult. Now, there is another reason to include Minato beyond being a Persona 3 representative in here. And that's that in the portable version of the game, they created a female...
Hold on, I'm gonna mod you. Yeah, it's just, I set up my bots. I think that like just they was only supposed to like trip over like curse words or whatever. Not curse words, but just like people saying crazy stuff. Not like caps lock or whatever. I don't know where all that came from. I think it was just that bot that I forgot to turn off. Cause couldn't even use it the way I wanted to anyways. And that was irritating. That bot actually sucks. I didn't even set it up and it's just on here messing shit up. Hold on, what game are you talking about? Like, yeah, I don't even know why I got that bot. It was like, I was just trying to do the most as I could with this before I started streaming. What game was you talking about though? The Pokemon game? Why I said what the F? Now I got like this Pokemon game in my chat. It like occasionally says like a Pokemon will appear. You can just type in something to catch it. But no, this is about like this is like a concept video about like if Sega made Super Smash Bros instead of Nintendo. You know, like Super Smash Bros is. It's just showing like potential like characters that would have been in it. I could rewind a little. To this one. Just like Super Smash Bros. Got like 5 games. Basically like recreating a roster in like a reasonable format. Like with just Sega characters. Except he just doesn't want to include any third-party characters or anything for reasons. There's something I don't really agree with, but I think he could just replace them with different characters. There go the Pokemon thing in the chat. You could try to type in Pokecatch with an exclamation at the beginning. See if you catch it. You gotta type it like exactly the way it's saying. Hold on, I'm gonna type it this time. Like you can just copy and paste it. Oh, trainer pass it.
We have now reached the
Nah, hold on.
We're getting so close to the present.
It said you don't got your trainer pass yet.
The modern day approaching.
Yeah, Pokestar.
The Sega Smash franchise is going to release its 4th
And then type in what I just typed in whenever say Pokemon appeared, and you'll catch it.
Yeah, remember when Smash decided to just start?
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a raffle for whoever catches it, or like whoever types it first. But there's not many people in the chat, so.
And if we count Charizard as a new roster spot, then Super Smash Bros. 4 add 14 new Nintendo characters, but it also add a ton of new guest characters, which again, we are not going to worry about. However, this was also the first game to introduce DLC, and I am treating DLC with the same rules as the rest of the roster. Meaning, if it was a guest character, then I'm skipping it. But there was one Nintendo DLC, Corrin. A character who was revealed before their game even came out in the West, so half the world didn't even know who they were when they were officially announced. But they were a Nintendo character, so they do count, which means that including that one DLC spot, our total roster for this game will be 15. Except for one other thing. There was one important element of Super Smash Bros. 4 that we need to address. The Mii Fighters. Oh yes! The Mii Fighters, the biggest X factor I have had to think about for this entire roster. Considering how you could customize them, they were important to the franchise, so we do have to think of a way to include them, except that Sega doesn't own the Miis. And again, it would be simple for me to just say, well, this will probably be on the Wii U, so we can just copy and paste the Miis from Nintendo and put them in here for that game. But again, that's just an assumption. It doesn't mean it would.
Oh, I think we both caught the Pokemon though. I guess it's not a raffle. It's just whoever types it in catches the Pokemon. So that's cool.
We do have to address the Mii Fighters, and it needs to be something that Sega themselves owns. So let's start there. We would need something from Sega's history that would allow you to create customizable characters in the form of a brawler, a sword fighter, and a gunner. Now, I'm sure someone is raising their hand and shouting out, Sonic OC creator! But no, we're not going to do that. Instead, I've got a way better, far less memeable idea for this. Phantasy Star Fighters. Yes, we already put one Phantasy Star character into the first Sega Smash, but after a certain point, they kind of stopped making the regular Phantasy Star games and focused entirely on Phantasy Star Online, this huge MMO where you can create characters to go out there on missions. It started back on the Dreamcast.
Yeah, I don't think none of my stuff say ban all caps.
And to this day, the Phantasy Star Online games continue.
See, this dude that just typed in chat, it was supposed to block that, talking about cheap viewers on Stream Boo. It was deadass supposed to block that shit, but it just fucking didn't.
Put them in here and let you fully customize them and even sell some DLC costumes to dress them up to break everyone's hearts when they realize that their favorite character won't be making it into this game. We could keep the gunner's name the same, but we would have to end up changing Sword Fighter and Brawler to Hunter and Fighter, but hey, that's totally fine. So congrats Phantasy Star Online fans, you get to bring your personal creative character into this game to fight Sonic. Okay, Now that we got the weirdest thing about this game's roster out of the way, let's dive into the actual characters, starting with the easiest addition.
Alright, I'm trying to mess with something else and see if it.
2014, 2 Bayonetta games had come out, and she was a massive success for the company. People love this character.
Symbol
You know
protection.
what? She even made it into the actual Smash Bros. As the second Sega guest character, so I don't even.
Alright, that shouldn't happen again.
That laid out right there in front of us. Great, perfect. Moving on. Actually, you know what? No, not moving on, because as long as we're talking about Bayonetta, let's also talk about. Jack Kamen. Remember Mad World? No? What about Anarchy Reigns? Also no? Well, I know some of you remember him, darn it. Yeah, Mad World was one of the few games to come out for the Wii that was designed to say, you know, the Wii doesn't necessarily have to be for families, right? Nothing is keeping us from making super brutal graphic M-rated games on here. It was a super stylish and crazy fun experience. And nobody played it because it was on the Wii, and you would have to be insane to make a brutal graphic M-rated game on there. The Wii was for families. So, Platinum tried to bring the game's protagonist Jack Kamen back for Anarchy Reigns, a game on the Xbox 360 and PS3. Consoles that were more suited for his style of game, and they even shoved Bayonetta in there as a playable character to help bring in audiences. And somehow even fewer people played it, so I wasn't planning on including Jack here. But then to try and get an idea of what other people might want to see in a big Sega crossover fighting game, I looked around the internet for what other people were putting in their own hypothetical Sega crossover fighting game rosters, and everywhere I looked, people were including Jack Kamen on there. So, screw it. His fan base might be small, but they're dedicated, darn it. And again, Sega Smash 4 would more than likely be coming out on the Wii U. Mad World was a Wii exclusive. The stars are kind of aligning on this one. And hey, everyone wanted Doom Guy for the actual Smash Bros, but there was no way Nintendo was going to include someone in that game whose powers include ripping and or tearing. Well, this wouldn't be a Nintendo crossover. This is a Sega crossover. And Sega is way more willing to get dark and gritty with their characters, so hopefully, including Jack Kamen, would satisfy that brutal chainsaw action you guys have been looking for. Welcome Gunther. Sega Smash Brawl would have come out in 2008, meaning any games made earlier that year probably.
And I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna skip over this.
Comes from Valkyria in this
It's
game,
already what?
other studios.
Back to
Giant
this.
Lance is her primary weapon, and she has superpowers that would give her a wide range of abilities. Yu Narukami. Between the last Sega Smash and this game, Sega started to build up its library through the Microsoft method of buying up other studios. Yes, in 2013, Sega bought Atlus, and at this point in time, Atlus was still milking the hell out of Persona 4, and for good reason. It was the most successful thing Atlus had ever done. So yeah, let's throw in the game's protagonist, Yu Narukami, and lucky for us, we saw what happened when Joker was put into Smash Ultimate, so we already have a template for how a Persona user would work in this game, and Persona 4 already had its own fighting game, so we could even pull some Narukami moves from there and put them in this game. I mean, yeah, Narukami might not have a grappling hook for his up B like Joker does to help him get back onto the stage, but he does have a killer SRK, so I think he'll survive just fine. The Persona 3 protagonist. As I said, Persona 4 was the biggest Smash hit Atlus ever had, so it feels like a smart idea to include another Persona character in here. And while I would love to put Chie in the roster, I already used up my one free I'm putting them in here just for me card on Ayaka. So instead, let's do the smart and responsible thing and include a representative from Persona 3. We'll go with the Persona 3 protagonist Makoto Yuki. Or Minato Arisato, depending on which name you want to go with. God, I hate nameless protagonists. They make building these hypothetical rosters so much more difficult. Now, there is another reason to include Minato beyond just getting a Persona 3 representative in here, and that's that in the portable version of the game, they created a female version of the character that you could play as. So, as I have mentioned numerous times, Sakurai loves putting in characters who can have two versions as a palette swap. So the Persona 3 protagonist would be another great choice for this. Half of their skins would be the character from the main Persona 3, half of their skins would be the character from Persona 3 Portable. Blaze the Cat. Again, got to include another Sonic character. You know what happened, might as well accept it.
Man,
Blaze would be a great addition because we got Sonic, Tails, Knuckle, and Eggman to represent the classic games. We got Shadow and Amy to represent the more modern games. Blaze the Cat would represent the handheld games. Yeah, Sonic might not be a ton of handheld games, but they were some of the best reviewed Sonic games over the past 2 decades. I mean, that's not really saying much considering the competition, but it's still impressive. And Blaze the Cat first premiered in those games, and she is actually one of the most popular Sonic characters from this time period. And with her flame powers, she would fight completely differently from all the other Sonic characters, so I think she's a strong fit. Sakura Shinguchi. Sakura Wars is another one of those Sega franchises that certainly has its fans, but I'd be willing to say most people are either completely unaware of it, or they don't think it's very important. Well, to those people, I can assure you, Sakura Wars is way bigger than you might think. Multiple installments over several years, a reboot just 2 years ago, they've got animes, they've got mobile games. This is another one of those multimedia empires that Sega just has sitting in their back pocket that they rarely ever bring up in conversations. Well, again, Masahiro Sakurai made sure to put Fire Emblem and Earthbound characters in Smash to try and get more people to talk about. He would probably do the same thing for this Sega franchise. So, I say it's about time that we bring Sakura Shinguchi, the face of Sakura Wars, into this game. I mentioned that Sakura Wars was surprisingly popular, and if you don't believe me, in 2020 at Sega's 60th anniversary celebration, they held a poll in Japan, and Sakura Shinguchi was voted as the 3rd most important Sega character ever. That's so big, I'm shocked I haven't put her on this roster sooner. And if after hearing all of this, you still aren't sold on including this character, she uses a mech. How have I not included a character who can use a mech in this game yet? If that doesn't scream Final Smash, I don't know what does.
Alright, I've been waiting for this.
Ristar. Sega has had so many one-and-done mascots over the years.
For sure.
Characters who they hope would catch on and become big deals, and they kinda didn't. But also, kinda did, because even if they only got one game, many of these characters build up an audience that cares about them, and Ristar is one such character. I know I'm reaching deep on this one, but by the 4th game in the franchise, you need some deep cuts. We need that character that makes audiences go, huh? And Ristar would definitely do that. Now, if you don't know Ristar, you might look at this little star dude and think, okay, he's probably got some super dashes or energy blasts, he's got some kind of cosmic power of some kind. Nope! Ristar is a grappler. The point of his game is to stretch out his arms and grab and throw things, which would actually be kind of cool in a platform fighter. I mean, the entire point is to get your enemy off the platform, just have him reach out, grab the opponent, pick him up over his head, and then toss him off the side. Plus, he'd be able to use those long, stretchy arms of his for an up B that would let him reach up and grab onto the ledge if he started to fall off.
Actually, I don't even know how this works for real.
Goro Majima. Back in 2008, there had only been 2 Yakuza games. It was still a young, fledgling series, but now, yeah,
Trying to hear myself.
2014. We now have 5
Or at least hear the sound effects on stream.
multiple tie-ins. This
Hold on.
thing is approaching becoming a religion for Sega at this point. So, we of course have to put in there the second biggest face of the franchise, Goro Majima. He's known as the Mad Dog, and that's exactly how he'd fight. Super rush downy, super unga bunga. This guy just wants to go in and slash
Let me
you
try
up.
this.
He'd be as much of a nightmare in this game as Fox was in Melee. His big Final Smash. Let's have his brother in arms Taiga and have the 2 of them do a combo attack on you.
Why is that the
The Centurion.
emote
this is
that
a
played?
game to bring back some old characters, kind of like Sakurai did with Duck Hunt Dog in the actual Smash 4. And Altered Beast is one of those Sega franchises that, despite not being very good, you might think it was, but you know in your heart it wasn't. It is still loaded with nostalgia for older Sega fans. In Altered Beast, you would beat up monsters and you would get bigger and buffer with each victory, and once you had absorbed enough enemy
hopefully that auto mod still works. I don't think I need it though. If people post the links, probably, but let me mess with this.
souls? I'm going to guess they were souls? I don't really know the deep, complex lore of Altered Beast, but you would
Bro, the
say
lighting
that
is so bad. I got my light on
the ones
and
you
window
have
open.
you would
It still look
transform into your
awful.
monster form. So,
Not
let's
even
do the
funny.
same thing in here. You start off as a human, but then the more damage you do to your enemies, the
That
bigger and
is
stronger
serious.
you get, until eventually you can transform into your Altered Beast form with big, crazy new abilities. It would kind of be like Joker's ability to summon out Arsene in Smash Ultimate, so we know that something like this can work.
Oh, I gotta make
We
the
now
virtual
only
pet.
have one more non-Echo fighter to include, and as long as we're talking about classic characters fans would probably ask for, I can see this being a character that Sakurai would have fought against including for the longest time. Older, but now, yeah, this is 2014. We now have 5 mainstream entries and multiple tie-ins. This thing is approaching becoming a religion for Sega at this point. Try and get more people to talk about it.
I ain't paid attention that much.
This Sega franchise. So, I say it's about time that we bring Sakura Shinguchi, the face of Sakura Wars, into this game. I mentioned that Sakura Wars was surprisingly popular, and if you don't believe me, in 2020, at Sega's 60th anniversary celebration, they held a poll in Japan, and Sakura Shinguchi was voted as the 3rd most important Sega character ever. That is so big, I'm shocked I haven't put her on this roster sooner. And if after hearing all of this, you still aren't sold on including this character, she uses a mech. How have I not included a character who can use a mech in this game yet? If that doesn't scream Final Smash, I don't know what does.
I ain't even gave it a name. How do I change the name?
So many one-and-done mascots over the
It's
years. Those characters who they hope would catch on and become big deal, and they kind of didn't. But also, kind of did, because even if they only got one game, many of these characters build up an audience that cares about them, and Rystar is one such character.
Oh
I
my
know
god.
I'm reaching deep on this one, but by the 4th game in the franchise, you need some deep cuts. We need that character that makes audiences go, huh? And Rystar would definitely do that. Now, if you don't know Rystar, you might look at this little star dude and think, okay, he's probably got some super dashes or energy blasts. He's got some kind
Not
of
that anybody watching,
power
but-
of some kind. Nope, Rystar is a grappler. The point of his game is to stretch out his arms and grab and throw things, which would actually be kind of cool in a platform fighter. I mean, the entire point is to get your enemy off the platform.
Let me turn that down.
Grab the opponent, pick him up over his head, and then toss him off the side. Plus, he'd be able to use those long, stretchy arms of his for an up B that would let him reach up and grab onto the ledge if he started to fall off.
I don't know how that just got so loud. I don't know how to turn it down.
Goro Majima. Back in 2008, there had only been 2 Yakuza games. It was still a young, fledgling series. But now, yeah, this is 2014. We now have 5 mainstream entries and multiple tie-ins. This thing is approaching becoming a religion for Sega at this point. So, we of course have to put
And the
there
colors
second
look
biggest
crazy.
franchise, Goro Majima. He's known as the Mad Dog, and that's exactly how he'd fight. Super rush down,
opponent.
super unga bunga. This guy just wants to go in and slash you up. He'd be as much of a nightmare in this game as Fox was in Melee. And for his big Final Smash, let's have him bring in his brother-in-arms Taiga and have the 2 of them do a combo attack on you.
Just verify.
The Centurion. Again, this is a perfect game to bring back some old characters, kind of like Sakurai did with Duck Hunt Dog in the actual Smash 4. And Altered Beast is one of those Sega franchises that, despite not being
There's a
very
general
good,
point redemption.
you might think it was, but you know in your heart it wasn't. it is still loaded with nostalgia for older Sega fans. In Altered Beast, you would beat up monsters and you would get bigger and buffer with each victory, and once you had absorbed enough enemy
No, what the fuck?
I'm going to guess they were souls? I don't really know the deep, complex lore of Altered Beast, but you would suck up these orb things after you beat enemies. But once you had absorbed enough of them, you would then transform into your monster form. So, let's do the same thing in here. You start off as a human, but then the more damage you do to your enemies, the bigger and stronger you get, until eventually you can transform into your Altered Beast form with big, crazy new abilities. It would kind of be like Joker's ability to summon out Arsene in Smash Ultimate, so we know that something like this can work. And we now only have one more non-Echo Fighter to include, and as long as we're talking about classic characters fans would probably ask for, I can see this being a character that Sakurai would have fought against including for the longest time. But by the time that we get to Smash 4, he'd probably finally give in and say, you know what, screw it, let's throw him in. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you what will hands down be the weirdest pick on this entire roster. I want you all to just close your eyes and imagine for me that's the mid-90s. And you're walking into an arcade. The room is full of machines, every single one of them playing their own distinct sounds and music. But above all of them, above all the other noise, you hear one tune that stands out and is going to get stuck in your head for the rest of your life. The Daytona Hornets. Yeah, why not? Why not throw the Daytona car in here too? For anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, the Daytona racing games were another big arcade hit for Sega. So much so that when Sega made their very first fighting game crossover, Sega Mega Mix, they put the Daytona car in there as a selectable character.
Bro,
And it
what?
fought as an actual car. Just kicking and punching on two wheels, and ever since
Nah,
in
what
the
the
fighting game community, he has become something of a running gag anytime anyone talks about a Sega fighting game. And for anyone who might be thinking, hey, wait, you said only
Can't find a channel point.
would a race car from the
I just gotta
actual
reset this shit.
NASCAR circuit not count? Yes.
I think I gotta reset it.
The car that was in Megamix, the car that we would be including in here, was simply referred to as Hornet.
Oh, you can't hear the vid as well? It's still the same video.
So it technically counts as an original character for Sega.
I'm gonna
They
just,
even brought it back for Sonic All-Star Racing Transform, so I'd say we're safe. Plus, as I said, I know how Smash fans think. Hell, I know how fighting game fans think.
if you still hear it, like, let me know if you can hear it better now. My bad.
This would be the Waluigi. This would be the guy that everyone would be asking for years. So, yeah, as I said, screw it. Why not? Let's just go ahead and include him.
Welcome,
Those are all
Disenchanted
of your
Tasha.
fighters for Sega Smash 4. All we're
Damn,
missing
that
now are
shit
the two
loud.
Echo
Hold
Fighters.
on. Oh my
First of which would be
God.
Hotsuma from the Shinobi reboot as an Echo Fire for Joe
Why
Musashi.
can't I?
Earlier, I joked about how we couldn't include him because his scarf would be too hard to program, but that
Sure,
was just a
audio
joke.
bit obvious.
I just wanted to use Joe Musashi, seeing as how he was the more iconic character for the franchise. But darn it, Hotsuma is just too cool. He has to be in here somewhere. And for anyone who thinks, yeah, but
Okay,
Hotsuma and
can you
Musashi
just let me know if
seem
you hear the
like
video
because
better
they
now?
get
That's my
stuff in each of
bad.
their games. I say we treat this kind of like the Belmonts in Smash Ultimate. You know how half of their moves came from Simon, half of their moves came from Richter, then
I
they
just have to
merged them
turn
all
that
together
down.
and they each shared the same one moveset. Just do the exact same thing with Hotsuma and Joe Musashi. Boom, done. There's your Echo Fighter. And as for the second Echo Fighter, I'm very tempted to make it another Shining character, seeing as how one of the new Echo Fighters in Smash 4 was a Fire Emblem character, and I did mention that Shining was a pretty good Sega counter to that. But yeah, I've hit the limit of my Shining
Oh,
knowledge.
okay, cool.
I
Thanks.
know a little bit
Yeah.
about the fighting game, and that's about it. And from what I understand, about half the cast of that fighting game isn't even canon to the Shining series, so it doesn't even help me that much at all. But looking beyond the Echo Fighters for just this game, and looking at all the Echo Fighters that Sakurai ended up creating, One interesting thing that he decided to do was he made a handful of Echo Fighters that were copies
But
of the
this
characters
shit-
from completely different
this-
series.
God.
And I think that's an interesting challenge, so let's give it a shot. Our second Echo Fighter will be Janet Marshall from Virtua Cop as an Echo Fighter for G from House of the Dead. The Virtua Cop series might have died down, but was another big light gun shooter for Sega, so we should be able to swap a character from Virtua Cop in for G, our other big light gun rep in this game. We would have to change out that zombie move that I mentioned for G and give Janet a different move, but aside from that, they'd play pretty similar. And as for why I'm picking Janet and not one of the other Virtua Cop characters, well, hey, as much as I would love to include a guy named Rage in my game, Janet was already in Sega Mega Mix, so she's already got some fighting game credentials. She's got history in fighting games. It just makes sense to me. Now, as I mentioned, this was the first game to include DLC, and all the DLC characters were guest characters or return characters except for one.
I got a bunch of weird sounds you can play.
We still have one character.
I'm on the stream. I don't know if they show up on the phone though, actually. Name of this video is Sega Smash Ultimate. Sega Smash Ultimate.
Rodin. Bayonetta at this time.
Yeah, it's all a Sega game since Super Smash Bros. Is like it's a Nintendo game that has mostly Nintendo characters in it, so you know, like Sega used to be like Nintendo's rival. It's like an alternate reality thing of like if Sega made the game instead, and that's really it.
Releases for Sega, so I wanted to make sure that I include at least one other character from that game. The obvious choice would have been John, but she's so similar to Bayo, it feels like she would have made a better Echo.
Honestly, I think it would have been more fun.
Rodin, on the other hand,
just from this video alone.
Playable in Bayonetta 2, so we do have an idea of how he would fight, and we know that he plays very differently from the other characters. He is his own fighter. I mean, for starters, he can't use Witch Time, so that's one whole ability from her character that he couldn't even use, and he's not nearly as agile as her, so he wouldn't be as fast. So instead, he would be the big buff wall version of Bayonetta, not flipping and flying all over the stage, but still being able to punch the heck out of the enemy with his big smash attacks. And there you have Sega Smash 4. We've come a long way now, but we are finally almost done. There is only one more game in this fictional series. The game that would bring everyone back from the previous games and truly create the ultimate Smash experience.
I'm gonna try and make some like emojis too for the stream. So like emojis that are like only for my channel. But you can like use them anywhere. It's like a special thing for like people who subscribe, but you can get a free one if you just watch the channel. Something.
Sega Smash Ultimate. Yes, Sega Smash Ultimate. At long last, our final
I gotta
game.
set these up.
Man, after coming this far, I have even more respect for Sakurai than I already did. I'm just making a video talking about who could be in the game. Can you imagine having to program all of them? Now, as we all know, Super Smash Bros.
Yeah, I did that earlier when the bot banned you, just to make sure nothing stupid happened again.
Cast of all time.
Bro. I mean, yeah. You ain't really gotta worry about it though. I got bots for that.
Super Smash Bros. Ultimate had a ton of new characters, but many of them were guest characters, so we're not going to worry about that. When it comes to first-party characters, though, Smash Ultimate only added 5 regular characters and a handful of Echo Fighters. However, there were 2 seasons of DLC, and in those 2 seasons, there were 4 Nintendo characters added, meaning we have to add that many as well. This brings up one final thing that we do need to consider. even though this is the most recent installment, it still came out in December 2018, meaning that any games released in 2019 and 2020 won't be eligible for the base roster, but they might be able to make it in as DLC. But okay, that is the last set of rules that I have to establish today. We can finally reach the end of our journey with Sega Smash Ultimate. Here is your final roster.
Watch.
Joker. Yes, Jonas' theme song might imply you all saw this coming. Again, Persona has been a big seller for Sega, with Persona 5 selling incredibly well and being one of Sega's most critically acclaimed games of the last decade.
Oh my god.
And Persona 5 was so big, it actually got Atlus to stop talking about Persona 4.
This video 14 minutes.
At least for a little bit. And again, Joker is one of the few Sega characters to come to the actual Smash Bros.
Yeah, I don't even got that tab.
We even know how he played already. Yeah, starting off easy. Now on to the weirder picks.
Bro, oh.
Echo the Dolphin. I'm going to follow this one under the sure, why not category. I know some people have been expecting Echo this entire time, who ironically would not be an Echo fighter.
Yeah, no, I don't got
I just realized that very unfortunate naming convention.
Gotta learn how to become an affiliate.
Ooh, boy. Sorry, as I was saying, I know some people have been
hold on,
the entire time because of how big
it may not be over yet.
Back in those days, Echo was one of the faces of that console.
Actually,
but how the hell do you just make regular?
I think it reveals who catched it like after a little bit.
We could make them float in the air to resemble swimming.
You typed in the right thing,
they
so
would have no legs to attach them to the ground. So would they just be floating in the middle of the air? If we do that, then would they trigger bombs when they go over them? Would low attacks just completely whiff on them? Makes no damn sense. Compels me though.
I can't even set up the pet for
we got
real.
to the point where we're including the Daytona car in here, so
Because I'm not a Twitch affiliate.
Everything is on the table at this point. And honestly, despite the question of how to deal with him floating in the air, Echo would actually make a great character in this game. Sonar blast for their neutral B, charging attacks flying across the screen, a big upward jump to get them back onto the stage.
Yeah, you caught the
That
Pokemon.
moveset lines up with the inputs in Smash way too well. We have to.
Yeah, it
include
takes
them.
a minute and 30 seconds before it shows that you catched it.
Yuma Ilburn. I mentioned that I know nothing about the Shining series, but I did hunker down and I did do plenty of research. And the quality of the Shining series appeared to be all over the place. Critics and fans tend to go pretty hot or cold on the series, either loving it or meh in it. But the most recent Shining game, Shining Resident, was originally released in 2014 in Japan only. But in 2018, the same year this Smash Ultimate game would be released,
I'm gonna set up this
received a
pet on
massive
different
worldwide
pages.
re-release on every console and PC, and it even got pretty decent reviews. Not great, but good enough that it feels like fans were on board with it. So that makes this the perfect time to bring Yuma Ilburn, the protagonist of that game, into this roster. And Yuma had the power to transform into a dragon, sort of like Corrin and Fire Emblem. So we already have a playstyle and Final Smash from the actual real Smash Bros. All lined up and ready to go for him. The Shogun. Okay, you may be wondering, what game is the Shogun from? Kind of none, and also
Have you tried using the Pokemon tab that's underneath the channel?
Of all time? Well, Sonic is obviously number
Like
one.
it tells you how to set them up and stuff. I think you can play
Prepare to get an even bigger surprise. It's
once you
Total
catch like
War.
enough Pokemon or whatever.
Total War is a series of strategy games where you command giant armies.
Yeah, it's like a
real-world locations and eras.
should be under the channel. I'm not sure if you're on the phone or
Have
not.
a lot of original characters. Most of its cast include faceless warriors or actual people from history, meaning no way could we use them in this game. But in Sonic All-Star Racing Transform, Sega actually did include a representative for the Total War series. They create a character called Shogun to be the
Yeah, I ain't even
game.
catch that one. I ain't type
You know
it.
what? If Total War is the second highest selling Sega franchise of all time, yeah, we kind of need to put someone in here from it.
Here it is, actually, right here. I can show you on the
Strategy war
screen.
Simulator game into a fighting game character sounds
It is
nuts,
true.
but this is Sakurai we're talking about. This is the guy who adapted Minecraft into a fighting game. If anyone can do it, it's him.
I don't know how flying
And for
swords are
specials, he can
Pokemon,
summon out fires to
but
run across the field and
whatever.
attack, or place a cannon down to shoot at the opponent. Or heck, for his big final smash, have him swing at the opponent, and if he successfully hits them, then the camera zooms way out until it takes that big aerial view, and you just see an army swarming down on your enemy's location. That super sounds so perfect for a Total War character that we have to include him in here. We can figure out how the rest of his moves would work later. We got the final smash, that's all we need for now.
I'll just undo that.
Opa Opa. And
I'm gonna pause this video actually because I'm adding this back real quick. Yeah, all the newer Pokemon just don't really make sense. They got a bunch of Pokemon now since, you know, like, they've been going ever since we were born, but like, it don't even make sense no more. Alright, so yeah, put it. Yeah, I'm never using any of these chats anyways. Let me just. Nah, that's not anything. You said these creatures. You said edition 10,000. No, yeah, I actually I don't like the newer Pokemon. Some of the newer Pokemon, like, if you see in the screen, actually, I'm gonna show you. There's a Pokemon that's literally just an ice cream cone. I don't even know what it's called. It's like, I think it's called ice cream. Nah. No, it's not called ice cream. I just looked up actual ice cream. Yeah, it's called Vanillux. And that's where I just had to stop messing with Pokemon. But it's like, I like watching people create like fake Pokemon. Cause they not bad, but it's like a floating thing of ice cream before all the stuff you could have made is kind of crazy. I mean, I guess they still like try to do new stuff with the newer generations with like different animals. But it's like once they like lost the point with like animals and stuff, I don't know, it just fell off to me. I mean, even in like the first generation, you got like a fake Pokeball that just explodes. Like it's random. Yeah, Voltorb, and it's like this one, the face on this one, it's like they didn't even try. They didn't even give a fuck. It's like you can't be serious. Like even still, it's like it's supposed to be like found only in certain places, but like there's no way I'm finding this thing out in nature, bro. Like you can't be serious. I'm gonna just be honest. It's like, no, here we go, right here. I think they're not just out in the bushes or whatever, but I hope they aren't. It's not showing whatever I need. Yeah, like where to find them game locations. Yeah, they're supposed to be found like in power plants and stuff. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Let me go to the newer ones though. Why would I find one in a hotel or a safari? It's crazy. Oh, photo. See, yeah, no, it's this one. Like, why would I just find a freaking? Why would I find it out in a place like this? It don't even add up. It really don't. Yeah, other than that, I guess it's making sense. Yeah, I mean, I eventually want to like try and draw like some fake Pokemon on my streams or whatever. I've been watching a bunch of videos on them. I just haven't started nothing.
Character, this choice might not seem that big to go out on, but it is rather important. I mentioned earlier that Alex Kidd was Sega's first mascot. Well, that was true for their home consoles.
There's like a
as
bunch
I
of channels
pointed out
that do
several
it.
times throughout this video, Sega was a major arcade developer.
I don't know. I just
1
like
year
the
before
idea of
Alex Kidd
like
hit home console,
just thinking
they
about them.
released Fantasy Zone.
Because like even I ain't gonna lie, even on like some of the I just skip way too much. Even on some of the Pokemon that already exists, it's like I'll be just sitting here thinking like why does it have that type, like why is it that type of Pokemon? Let me like show you one like I just found recently. I mean just figured out recently. There's this older one called Palkia. I think this was Generation 4. Generation 4, I think, I guess. I can't, it keeps saying IV. It pisses me off. Yeah, it's Gen 4. But these are supposed to be like the gods of time, space, and antimatter. And like Palkia is the god of space. But if I look up his typing, it says like okay, so the god of time, Dialga, they're all dragons by the way, so they're double typing and they're gonna have dragons in their type. So Dialga is Steel Dragon, which is kind of acceptable as a god of time. But like Palkia, the god of space, is a dragon in water type. I mean I guess like space, but it's like before this generation, in Generation 3, they introduced a dark type, which seemed like it would fit, like the god of space way more well for some reason. In my honest opinion, I just didn't get it at all. Like, why is it water? I don't think space really flows like that. We could just call it water. It just don't add up to me. But then the antimatter type is a dragon ghost type. So I'm like, that's fine, but like, why couldn't y'all make that a dragon dark type? Like, is it because of like the way the game actually works with the advantages and disadvantages? It's like, it kind of confused me. I just think they wasn't thinking about it. It just didn't add up. Pokemon type chart, look at Pokemon type chart. It shows. These be looking weird, but it show all the advantages. That shit too small. Look at one of these, yeah, like maybe let's see. So dragons right here does double. Wait. So I guess dragons do double damage to dragon types as well. I actually I can't even read this. I don't know how it works. Holy sh. Let's look at this one. It got a whole legend to it. It's very effective. If it has nothing, it does normal damage. Not very effective. No effect, it doesn't affect. Alright, let me just open image tab. Jesus. So dragon has no effect on fairy. It is very effective against its own type. And it's not so effective against steel type. So there's not much at all. So dragon dragon and steel types was the first one. Okay. And dark type. That's so effective against psychic. Oh, and ghost type. So I guess the god of space would really make the god of antimatter weak or whatever and make him too strong. No, a dragon type just mean like, it don't mean, since they already got a fire type in the game, like dragon type don't really mean like dragon. It's more so like a beast type. It's like beastly, even though like most of them in the category are like dragon, but like it's more so like encompasses all types of like beast. Even though they more so look like dragons. I'm gonna look up dragon types in the game. Dragon type Pokemon. Because there is one dragon type that doesn't make no sense at all to me. If you look at it, I guess most of them really do. Let's look at them. Like, I don't know what the fuck this is, but that is not a dragon. It's definitely some type of mythical beast, though. So, yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna catch this Pokemon. Is it simply a dragon type? Yeah, that's too much to get into. There's too much lore behind that one. Man, I guess the rest. I mean, dragons aren't really. They don't have to be, like fire. Cause you think about it, like, the Loch Ness monster or something, or like Godzilla isn't necessarily fire. I guess he has more so like energy blast or whatever. I can't even like tell no more. Let me just look up a couple examples. Dragons that aren't fire. Like dragons that don't breathe fire. Because there is like some in mythology. I guess like a Leviathan, even though it's supposed to like in real life it's supposed to like represent like a whale or something, just a large water beast. Like Leviathans and like works of fiction most of the time are like water dragons. I don't want to see How to Train Your Dragon. Nothing, nothing is really just showing up off the spot. Isn't really like helpful. Oh, wyverns. Yeah, wyverns aren't really fire breathing. I guess I'm not sure. Yeah, I can't really tell. Let me just look at the pictures. Oh, there's one breathing fire. So take that back, I guess. Not all dragons breathe fire. In various fictional settings and mythology, dragons exhibit a range of breath weapons or abilities beyond fire. For example, some dragons might breathe ice, lightning, acid, or even poisonous gas. So it's like a dragon could just like be like assigned any type of element for real. Some cultures, like the Chinese, traditionally depict dragons associated with water and weather phenomena rather than fire. Like Chinese dragons are associated with water, rain, rivers. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Concept of dragons breathing fire is largely a Western idea, but Eastern dragons are often linked to other elements or natural forces. Creatures like Komodo dragons and real-world animals sometimes referred to as dragons, but don't breathe fire. Yeah, of course, that's real life. Yeah. Whatever. Alright, whatever, yeah. This little creature just welcoming everybody that's already been in the chat. Get it?
Games.
I'ma
Let's
just
have him call
finish
upon
this
the
video.
Space Harrier, or Zaxxon, or Flicky. Enjoy Googling all those, folks. And there are your 5 new regular first-party Sega characters, which brings us to the Echo Fighters. Now, guess what? This gets a little complicated, because Smash Ultimate load up on the Echo Fighters to try and include as many characters as possible, which I'm always in favor of. And there were 3 new Nintendo Echo Fighters included: Daisy, Dark Samus, and Chrom. However, there were also 2 non-Nintendo Echo Fighters, Ken and Richter Belmont. Well, those 2 are guest characters, and we're not worrying about guest characters. But here's the thing. Echo Fighters, as I said, are used to include more characters without having to create a fully brand new moveset. They're an easy way to sneak in here 1 additional free character. So, if Sakurai wanted to include more characters in the game, who's to say if we didn't have a guest character in Sega Smash that would make for a good Echo Fighter, that Sakurai wouldn't just create a brand new Echo Fighter based off of a Sega character? Still following? Because I know I'm not. Just saying that last sentence out loud caused smoke to start popping out of my ears. Point is, Sakurai would want to include a bunch of Echo Fighters in here, so if he couldn't make one out of a guest character, he would probably make another one out of a Sega character. So in other words, I am going to count the guest Echo Fighters as Sega Echo Fighters, bringing our total up to 5. First up, obvious choice, Jean would be an Echo Fighter for Bayonetta. Bayonetta is big for Sega, Jean is one of the most important characters in that franchise, and since she has moves that are very similar to Bayonetta's, she would be a perfect Echo Fighter. Starting off easy, but next up we're getting a little more complicated. Sarah Bryant would be an Echo Fighter for Jackie Bryant. We need more than just 2 characters from Virtua Fighter, and I feel like Sarah could be a decent Echo Fighter for her brother, Jackie. But we would have to change some stuff around. Up until Virtua Fighter 4, Sarah used Jeet Kune Do, just like her brother. So, they would share a couple moves in common, especially that flip kick, which I think would be a great up special for them. But in Virtua Fighter 5, she fought with
Man, the animal ain't even making no noise anymore. I don't know how to get it to work. Maybe just turn the volume up, but
or
it's not playing
one
nothing.
totally unique move that's all hers in order to give her some
Yeah,
more
all
identity.
this sound.
Remember in the actual Smash Ultimate, Chrom was an Echo Fighter who was kind of a combination of 2 characters merged together? I figure we could do basically the same thing with Sarah in Sega Smash. Next up, Gemini Sunrise, who would be an Echo Fighter for Sakura Shinguchi. I mentioned that, shockingly enough, Sakura was the main focus of the Sakura Wars series, but that was true for the first 4 games. With the 5th game, the series moved to America, and the new focal heroine became the Texas-born cowgirl Gemini Sunrise. Now, I'll admit, I am going out a little bit on a limb on this one, because just like Shining and Phantasy Star, Sakura Wars is another series I don't really know a whole lot about. But I did do a solid chunk of research in preparation for this video, and I feel like Gemini would be a decent Echo Fighter for Sakura. Both are skilled sword fighters, both would summon out their mechs for their specials. I say she fits. And Sakura Wars is big enough for Sega that definitely deserves a second character in this game. Next up, as I said, Puyo Puyo is Sega's 3rd biggest franchise. I feel like I have to keep bringing that up because otherwise I won't believe it. So putting another character in here just makes sense, and since it's a Tetris-style puzzle game, it means each character would play basically the same, making them the perfect candidates for Echo Fighter.
Laser pointers and napping all day. Meow. Kappa.
Man, why doesn't it?
I love attention and gain experience from every viewer interaction.
I don't know why it's not letting me set this up correctly. Can't even enable that, so yeah, I went to the, it's cause like I'm on PC, so like it shows you all that extra stuff, like the extensions you can download onto it. But like most of them is like they're not fully even functional. Some of them you have to like buy off a store, or like some of them you have to be an affiliate for them to work all the way. Like with this little raccoon right here. I'm just trying to get the sound to work on it though, but doesn't want to work honestly. Just because I tried to take control of how loud it was, so I don't really even like that. That's fucked up. I was asking. Yeah, whatever. I'll just get back to this video.
Fighters. So let's include Ringo Ando, who is the series' third protagonist.
Yeah, I want to make some of my own emotes eventually. I mean, it won't even take that long, to be honest. I could probably do it by like tomorrow, but just to have a couple. But it's like I don't even have channel points, and I'm thinking about it for people to yeah, I can't even make my own emotes because I gotta become an affiliate or whatever. I'm not sure what it takes to become an affiliate actually though. But yeah, at least I got if you see on the Twitch chat, there should be this thing called like Blurp. You can use that or whatever. I mean, I think I just need like a certain amount of followers and like watch hours or whatever. To be honest, like, I think I need like 50 followers. Actually, no, I forgot. You probably gotta like install that on your computer or something. I'm about to show it quick. I got this thing called Blurp. You could try and use it. Stream for it. I mean, like I have to stream it from like my computer from the way this works. We'll probably yeah, Blurb. It plays like funny sounds. I select it. Because I don't know, I don't like the way streaming from the PlayStation work. Cause like it's just like it doesn't really like do what you want it to. It just does like whatever. Like I'll try connecting it to my account and streaming, but it's just like it won't be as customized as this. Like, at this point, I feel like I want to try and keep people's like attention as much as possible, but streamer doesn't have status of affiliate or the bitch fishers. See, yeah, nah. That's my channel. I gotta turn it. Oh no, I ain't gotta worry about closed captions yet. Yeah, I was trying to do something like set this stuff up. Like this little pet. But gotta become an affiliate. I mean, at least Blurp has like its own points you can use. Like just play some on stream. It's playing this weird emoji. I was supposed to change the emoji because I don't want that emoji. I didn't know it play that emoji. I don't know how to get back to it. Let me try and play something actually funny. I don't know. It's not that much. I got some points though. And no, there's a lot of stuff on here, but I can't even like think of actually trying to be funny right now.
Hey, there's no time to rest. Oh, I've been married a long time ago. Where do you come from? What year to go?
Nah. Let's see what this.
Nah, I don't really feel like it.
There's some funny ones here. I just can't find them. Is these even? Oh no, these ain't even the ones I chose. Man, these ain't the ones I even chose. Oh, I just realized that. Even this shit not set up correctly. Chris. Man, what does it take to set something up correctly? Jeez. I swear these is the ones I chose. Maybe I just don't remember picking some of these. Nah, these ain't the ones I chose. Whatever.
You already know who it is. It's your boy. Fresh.
I guess you could play whatever sound you want though, I guess. It just be loading weird. It's not really a problem. No problem. Yeah. They got some funny sounds on there if you like know the meme or whatever. They got funny sounds on there. Yeah, ain't nothing really set up all the way properly, I guess. Anyway. Yeah, like these ain't the ones I even chose. Like, I wanted to mainly show the ones I chose. Like, I didn't choose some of those. Like, why did I spend all that time selecting the ones I want people to see when it don't even? I mean, like, yeah, I'll try setting it up. I mean, I'll try seeing what streaming from PlayStation like. Cause like, I was just gonna make a beat anyways and then play some games, make some beats and then play some games. So, yeah. Guess I ain't too worried about it anyway. Nah, I mean, I'm making beats like later. Like, I'm just gonna try and stream as much as possible. So. But yeah, I guess I'll just finish up this video. I mean, it's not like anybody watching, but like, probably try and make like a quick beat, and then I'll turn on the PlayStation. Or whatever. I mean, like, yeah, but it's like, not no like randoms. Like, I feel like I gotta make a couple YouTube videos first for something to really happen or whatever. But identity. Appearance. Yeah. I mean, I don't doubt it. I used to like have a bunch of random people show up when I was making beats on Kick or whatever. But it's like, I feel like I have to optimize every single thing I do, like which category I'm streaming and all that type of stuff. It's not just like a shout out or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I feel like it has like some analytic stuff to do with it as well, instead of just being able to do what I want and then it'll eventually just grow. Cause like, that's not how this internet stuff always work out. Yeah, no doubt. But I mean, I'ma just finish this up real quick and then I'ma join. I'ma turn on the PlayStation.
Protagonist as an Echo Fighter for Amagi, the series' second protagonist. And lastly, Valkyria Chronicles continue to put out new games that all receive huge critical praise. So let's put in Claude.
I mean, it's not like it's really no characters I care about anymore. I done saw all the characters I care about.
Mega characters Ultimate. We've got the character and Mithra, going Pyra and
Wait, what?
We've got 12 weeks, but even after all of that, we're still not done. Oh no, we've got 2 seasons of DLC to go through. And out of the 12 DLC characters, 4 of them were Nintendo characters, so that means we've got 4 Sega characters to, oh, right. Pyra and Mithra play differently enough that people might consider them to be 2 different characters. Okay, screw it! We made it this far, let's keep going. Pyra and Mithra now count as 2 characters. We've got 5 characters left for this roster.
I mean...
Jack Frost. Remember, the first DLC character was Piranha Plant as a pre-order bonus, and it was one of those characters that had people going, okay? Like,
I mean, I'll be way better though.
Totally fine by me. But I feel like if it wasn't free for anyone who pre-ordered the season pass, then
like Piranha Plant,
they might have been a bit harsher on his inclusion. And I think Jack Frost would be about that same level of hype for Sega fans. And I really want to worthy of including the only non-protagonist character included. I mean, sure, there is Akechi, but in order to have to pick from down below is the mascot's family from a bunch of pre-red spot. So,
it's still better to look at.
Segata Sanshiro. I will now give half the audience a moment to cheer and the other half a moment to ask, who the hell is this? Segata Sanshiro was a fictional character created to be a spokesperson for Sega during the Saturn era, and his commercials are a thing of legend. Seriously, go look these up if you need a smile. They are a recipe for a good time. And Sega fans have held on to their love for this guy for years. He even made it into some of their games like Project Cross Zone. So I figure if Sega Smash had been a thing, I already mentioned that the Daytona car would be our Waluigi. Segata Sanshiro.
Why you say never mind? We just about to go do something. Oh, I mean, like when I hop on, we can play like Warzone or whatever. Yeah. See if you're already streaming. I mean, I had tried to download the Black Ops 6 multiplayer. It was acting like I could download it, but I can't. So it's just like whatever.
Would be Argino. That character who probably
Yeah, I could
never
just
made
play
it in the game,
Warzone.
but everyone would have spent years asking for it just because it was a meme. So screw it. If this is the end, let's throw him in there as well. And for anyone who was about to say, hold up, second of
Nah, yeah, I mean, this video over. I'ma just like make a beat. Never mind, Buster. Never mind. Never mindception. Yeah, I'ma just make it like a quick beat and
Hey, you got Jab for Shin Megami? That's about the best I can do. Zobio and Zobiko. We are so joy. They all just shoot attacks and team free to back in the Genesis days. And characters. We should, and I'm very fine character on the big frame third out. Make one of his costumes the knight armor. Yeah, you could have it, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah. I want to play a bunch of Sega games on stream, to be honest. I don't know, I grew up like with Sega Genesis collection. I don't really play Nintendo games like that. It's like Nintendo games were around, but it's just never, I don't know, stuck the same. I don't know. But, you know. Alright. I'm gonna just use the bathroom real quick. Whatever.
Hope everyone enjoys it here. Please follow the stream.
Oh, you sound pretty good at fourth, thanks. I mean, I'm just used to shooting games. I grew up playing Halo and Call of Duty with Marcus. It's like, and it's like playing Warframe just helps me like stay freshened up shooting anyway. So you say better, both of us. No, they don't really matter. Wild Ladane. You don't own that ball. Bro, am I out of Pokeballs? Oh my god, yo, that's crazy. I forgot I had a limited amount of Pokeballs. Can't just catch whatever. I'm gonna make this. It shouldn't be too loud. I don't know how it's leveled. Yeah, so I guess I'm not getting any more Pokemon. I guess I gotta fight with what I got. I use the stuff I just downloaded yesterday. See how loud it is. Shouldn't be that. Let's see. I like different. Yeah, it's pretty damn loud. What if I just put FL Studio to 50? My volumes was all messed up, wasn't it? I don't know, what's Google Chrome at? Can't even see it for some reason. Are you serious? I ain't got the video up no more. Yeah, Google Chrome is mad low. That's probably why. Let me like turn the volume down on my stream. It's because I used to play it on a speaker or whatever. I don't, so let me turn these the frick down for the stream. And I'm definitely not using these. I'm gonna be. Now I forgot what I was even going to think about. Basic one shots, I don't even want to. I mean, those aren't bad. Accents and phrases are never bad, but I'd rather make my own. It's not even picking up half of this. Recording this gonna be bad, not gonna lie. Yeah, I'm gonna just use some VSTs. That wasn't pleasant. I hate looking. I have something favorited and I still can't find it. Try looking at this. I don't use this at all. I think I've used it like once, like years ago. Wish I could just pick a random sound. It's already taking too long. Got off of the pack. Uh,
Did you know you can pet me? Check out the pet cafe.
I don't really like these sounds that much. That's funny sound. Nice, just. I hate the synthy sounds, really not my favorite. Really not going anywhere. Try it. I don't know. No, that's just sound. I hate these sounds, so I'm gonna just go to something I normally use. I don't hate the sounds. Quick. I look dang near gray on camera. Oh, it's the freaking TV. This lighting be so off. Use something where I could actually tell what I'm playing. Yeah, it's Labs is really just very convenient. All this other stuff is trying to do too much at times. It just crashed. That's the first time it's crashed in way too long. That shit not even funny. Whatever. Make something better. That's that was stupid. Just like starting off with chords at least or something. Okay. Try and make a big chord. Every note in it. A wild explode appears. What the heck is that? Like, are you serious? Nah, whatever. Nah. Not cool. This is not going. I gotta make my own shit. Like, come on. what the fuck? Maybe it's the way the sound works. Whatever. Let me hurry this shit up. This shit's so. This one downloaded like.
Nice to meet you. I'm Snacks.
Hold up. That's alright, soft piano. And download some more free sounds. Not much though, just natural instruments. If there's any pads, I don't need. The piano don't really even fit. I guess. Just use those for. It's about to crash again, ain't it? I don't gotta say this beat. Come on, what the fuck? And my shit's actually the life tripping. Nice, nice. Yeah, I don't got a lot of vocal chops, but they really help. I be seeing what people be producing. I be trying to study this shit. There's no point in having this if it's not standing out.
I'm hungry.
It's too much. It's too muddy. It shows how muddy it really is. It sound crazy. No, in a good way. I mean, like, it's kind of like, there's a lot of static. I'll choose a different one. Alright, that's a lot. This OTT is doing a lot, I'm not gonna lie. It's about time to take it off and learn some more. It'd be pissing me off trying to figure it out, so actually, I think I'm gonna keep it off for now. That shit just pissed me off. I don't feel like doing that shit on stream, trying to fuck around with that shit on stream. My shit sounded fucking crazy. Seriously. Way too much static. Way too much. Make everything sound fucked up. Fucking over mixed and dirty. It pissed me off, even though some people still dead ass use it. I just, like, my stuff sounded too crisp, I guess, too clear. This shit fuck up everything, I ain't gonna lie. Doing too much. Like rocket science. I just put some damn drums on it, like, damn. I don't know. Definitely not having a flow of inspiration right now, just doing whatever. Probably not the best time, but take the snaps out of this. Fucking quick. The fuck just happened? Like, damn. I don't know. No. Just leave it.
Purchase your track.
No, I don't know. How much shit in here? I don't know what the fuck this shit is. I mean, it's some useful stuff I would probably would never found here. Let's go with this one for now. I know I put it on stretch. I don't even know I'm making this video. So what's up, man? What's up, Zero? Yeah, I was just making this beat real quick. No, what the fuck? Oh no, hold on, that shit way too loud. Yeah, damn, what the? Yo, that volume go down. I swear I changed that sound too. There is no way. Yo, my bad, man. Appreciate that follow though. Jesus Christ. Holy shit. Bro, I swear I changed that sound and everything, and I turned the volume down. There's no way I can't control that on here. On Pro Alerts. Not logged in. Hold on, bro. No, this shit. Certified tripping. Can't even fuck with that. I'll just play the beat real quick, but then that's crazy.
I'm hungry.
I'm trying to open this. Bro, this is not real. This shit wanna mess up right when shit start moving. I'm gonna make you a mod too, since that's what my description say. The first 100 followers become mods. Free. That shit was retarded loud. That wasn't even funny. That's it, man. Yeah, and no shit. Why is this shit tripping? Oh my god, hold on, this shit certified shit. Oh my, yo, even a fucking, yo, I'm about to get pissed off. Just let me do it, like. I don't know why this shit. Yo, this shit is not real. Alright, you a mod now, alright. Open. Bro, I'm trying to open up my stream thing. Like, I'm trying to open up my thing while I program the alerts at, so I can change the volume, even though it shouldn't even be that sound and at that volume, which is ridiculous. Do I have to keep it open while I'm streaming all the time? Cause man, and now I gotta sit up and act like, bro, it's not even opening right now. After all that, it's not even opening now. Like, bro, I think I'm gonna be like, I ain't gonna lie, I think I'm gonna be done for right now. Appreciate you popping up and showing love and dropping out follow, cause that was real. But I might just have to completely restart this stream just for that shit to work. I ain't gonna lie. I was supposed to stream with my cousin on a PlayStation anyway. But like, yeah, if you still even here, you a real one. Appreciate that. I'm gonna just finish this beat up real quick, and then that's gonna be that. And whatever. I mean, it's freaking done anyway. It's just done. Done. I don't know if the 808 should be that low, even though I like. I don't know. Yeah, it can work. Nah. Should pick a different one. Nah, I don't know. That one not even in key. That one not working. Oh, it is, I guess. No, I guess it's just too low. Some of them can go that low. I guess not none of these. I hate when it's that high. I don't hate it, but it's like, it's so much more relieving when you can go that low. And it don't sound all muddy. Yeah. Jeez. I'm in the wrong place. I'm at the wrong place. These are not, this can't be in key. Yeah, they're not tuning. Alright. Man, fuck it, it's gonna sound like this. I just gotta get a different sound than 808. I don't want too much high end on it. Now that works. That even tuned. Oh god, I hate messing around with this shit. Nah. It's gonna be whatever. That shit was way too loud. That shit pissed me off. Shit really pissed me off. Like, I ain't sit here like days on hours before this bullshit and trying like get this shit right, but of course that's how shit works. Now that shit dead ass don't even want to open. Right after they just did that bullshit on me. Man, I'm done. I'm done. I'm gonna just fuck with a pitch. I was watching your stream. I was gonna turn on the PlayStation. Nah. I don't know this bitch. Nah. Nah, these pitches are not. Yeah, it was at the perfect pitch or whatever. You know, perfect, but.
ZZZZ.
Alright, whatever. Alright, I'ma just switch to the PlayStation.